professionals.
So
now you can say all the things.
You can say all the things. So we have a day. Yeah, I mean, let's tell the audience how we do this. So we talk with everybody backstage, usually way too much about just chitter chat because that's what we do.
Especially
and then
if
next
like
thing you know,
a lot.
We're live on the Backpack Show. Who knew? Like we forget to push the button even sometimes.
Welcome to the Backpack Show, where we bring you insights for success from unusual places and cool people who are doing all sorts of things. Today we have an author and book critic and a soap maker and activist. It's going to be a really fun day. But Chris, you found both guests today, so I think you should tell everybody how.
Yeah, well, one thing I should say is that Maaike Fettah came to me by way of her absolutely ridiculously overproud dad, who was like, "You should only meet my daughter," and I was like, "All right, slow down a little." And then he's like, "She's got this cool soap company." Okay, and then I was like, "Take breaths." He was like really into it, and so I was like, we have to interview her.
Like and your mom isn't like that, by the way.
I know my mom's ridiculous like that. And then Kerri Arsenault, Milltown. How can I not want to interview somebody who wants to talk about Milltowns? I live in a mill building. This is my now 4th or 5th Milltown that I've lived in. So how can we not? Scott Woodard's up in foggy southern Maine. So we're
I used to work in New Hampshire, and my law office it overlooked a series of mill buildings that had been over. I think they were.
Backpack Show. Vance Vegas, right?
I liked it a lot.
There he is, proud papa himself. C.A. Hurst.
And you're proud papa. Back to back.
It's that kind of show, kids. It's a family show. Welcome to the Backpack Show. So glad everybody's here. It's a day today. We get to talk about Maine, which how can I not love? I was born and raised in Maine. We get to talk about soap and activism mixed together. Eric Tung is here. Holy cow. Fabulous as ever. Hi, my mom. Look at that.
And
it's
Deb.
A show. Deb is back. Good to see you, Deb, after a hiatus. So
the other thing on the Backpack Show is we like to bring our audience into it. So we're glad you're here.
Because it's not an audience, it's a community.
Yes.
The big difference between an audience and a community is which
way you face the chairs.
Yes. Pops on top. Hey, Jack Vincent, how are you? And Heather is here. So glad you're here. Just listening though. She's doing other things. She's driving the car. Fish Dogs, Craig Fisher. He was on.
So do lots of visually interesting things.
Yeah, very very visual. So I'm going to bring in Kerri Arsenault. We're going to talk to her first. Hey, Kara
over from Scotland. Hello.
We're going to bring on Kerri Arsenault. She wrote a new book that's out right now. Just came out. I don't know. How many days ago did it come?
I don't know.
That's my button. How many days, Kerri?
I don't know what day it is. It was September 1st.
Who knows what day it is anymore, Kerri?
It's Wednesday, Urari. I don't know. September 1st. So it just came out. So the book is called Milltown. And it's really weird. When I went to your website and I looked at Milltown, the way you describe your book is different than the way I describe your book. So I want to start there. Hang on. Boop. There's the book. There's the site, kerri-arsenault.com. Reckoning with what remains. I kind of like that as a subtitle. But, when I read the book, what I got out of the book was a bit more of that feeling of almost like Eric Larson, Devil in the White City. I mean, you start with this talk. The book to me starts in one exact spot. It starts when you talk to Doc Johnson's wife, Terry, and you say, hey, I want to learn a little bit about my grandmother, who's, I can't remember her name, Oblada. And you say this thing, but she comes back with this sort of sinister, well, there's things that you probably don't want to know. And to me, that's the book. That's the hook of this book. But that's not exactly how you wrote it. Maybe help straighten me out and align me to your thinking on it. And I might make you leave with a different thought about it.
Okay, you might. Well, it was a bit of a mystery. I mean, when Terry Martin comes up and says, oh, this story is much more deep and nefarious and deceitful than and I was like, what? But this really the writing of the book, or the book is about the writing of the book itself, and I think that it is about me going down these pathways of exploration into sort of a mystery. But the the difference with this book as opposed to some Eric Larson, is that what you said? I've never read that, but I'm assuming it's some kind of crazy mystery thing.
It matches the World's Fair from, I think, Chicago, and some serial killer, one of the early serial killers. And it's narrative nonfiction. It's just this, your book had this kind of thriller edge to it,
right,
secretly hidden with looking up family tree stuff.
So I'm going to convince you otherwise. So this book is more of with toxic disasters. They're slower and more attritional and happen a lot differently than normal disasters or normal sort of mysteries. And so what I tried to do is give that flavor of a mystery, because it was to me at that point, but also to write it that's a story that's more germane to the mystery that's unfolding, which is a very slow toxic disaster happening over 100 years. Does that make sense?
It does, and it makes it almost like one of those James Michener, we're going to start with the fossil record of Hawaii kind of feelings. But it's interesting because there's almost a sort of choose your own adventure then, in a way. Because I can read it as a thriller if I want. Other people can read it as a genealogy. Other people still are just like, oh, I used to live in Rumford, next to Mexico, and
we had that conversation on Twitter yesterday. It was like, oh, I used to spend summers in Munson. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's a relative menagerie of stories. And I think I was talking last night with Danny Shapiro about this, and part of the structure of the book is like a river, where you go down a river and you go down this tributary and this thing, and the river eddies, and then it does this. And a little bit of the research took me down those footpaths, I guess, and I had to go there because partly because I didn't know what I was looking for. The other part was that you just have to go in nonfiction. You have to go where the research takes you. So it was a little bit of a choose your own, like a video game. Hey, this would be a great video game. What an idea.
Bob Collins loves that you disagreed with Chris.
Oh, it's the best way to learn things. It's the best way to learn things. I always tell people, start with me being wrong and then fix it. As I read through, there were a few things that just really stuck out. I just put up one of the tweets today about when you're talking to Terry Johnson and how the way she talks was crazy and fast, like a blender with the lid blown off or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is clearly, author stuff. You were and are on the critic side of things for a long time, and you have been on the sort of let me stick nails in your writing kind of side of things.
I'm sure she's very nice about it. Look at that smile. Come on.
I get that, but all I'm thinking is, nobody loves critics, Kerri. Are you worried in that way, or are you thrilled in that way? I saw your incredible list of people who endorse, like Jonathan Franzen and everybody, like all the names you found. Lethem. I mean, there's just so many names that on that. Oh, you got both right. I blanked because I was, who I also was thinking about was
John Freeman,
Oprah guy, Frey,
the Oprah guy.
And I was like. And I was like, you couldn't have gotten him because he's persona non grata to everybody except for me because I don't care. Right. But was that harder? Sorry, the big long preamble. Yeah. Was it harder to put your book amongst your peers and those kinds of names, knowing that it's not just it's not a beach read?
Are you saying like this is like when you go to prison after you've been a cop?
Yes,
and then
a cop goes to prison. Thank you.
I never thought of it that way, but I would say yes and no. I mean, on one hand, I know a lot of the critics, so they're more likely to, at least my book, fall in their hands somehow or some way. So, so in that way, not harder, easier, because I'm a known entity to them. But in the other way, yes, it's like, people are going to look pretty carefully at what I'm doing, because I've been looking at their work for years pretty carefully.
And they feel like, she kicked me around, I'm going to take a look.
I don't do that. I when I review books, I think it's a little bit of waste of my time to review a book that I don't like, because I feel like if it's that bad, it will just fail on its own. Somebody keeps calling me.
They're mad about their book review. Is what it is.
I don't know. Wait, I gotta shut that. I'm sorry. I guess my things. Anyway.
Do you want me to talk to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could put them on.
Coach Woodard says nobody loves critics, but everybody is a critic. And Kara says she's looking up your book right now on Goodreads because she's interested in the idea of the corruption of bodies on different levels.
Yeah, I mean, the book starts out in the prologue. I talk about the corruption of bodies, which is a water body, which is basically the cover of my book. This is the river that flows through our town. It's the actual shape of the river. So
Right.
the body of that river was corrupted by toxics, but also this looks alarmingly like a DNA strand. So
Yeah.
our bodies were also corrupted by the river and continue to be corrupted by the river with the environmental toxics that were put in there a century ago and are still being put in there.
I was born and raised right beside the Kennebec River in Augusta, Maine, and the experience there was, wait a day and you'd see what color the river was for a while, and then they did all this cleanup. And as a Boy Scout, we were they did this thing called the Great Whatever Race, where you'd have to put something in the water that was like made out of shenanigans or whatever, and you'd get on it. Like we made a monkey bridge across a bunch of pontoons and then rolled that thing down the Kennebec. And so all us boys are swimming in water that would have killed you like a few years before. So it's reading this book, I'm like, maybe I still shouldn't have swam in the Kennebec River.
I would
maybe not.
I would not. I would not swim in those rivers, those industrial rivers. I'm not sure what the Kennebec is right now, but the Androscoggin River, which is our river, is still an industrial grade river.
Wow.
I mean, you could canoe on it and there's not like walls, 7-foot walls of foam or like, dead fish floating around. There are bald eagles. So things have improved, but a lot hasn't.
So reading through this, by the way, the other thought I had was that not only is this book, such a massive, writing about family is fraught with peril. Writing about a big toxic environmental problem is fraught with peril. There's a lot of people who don't want this book in some ways, right? I mean, you wrote a book about pressure in so many ways. There's pressure for this book.
It's funny you say that. There is pressure for this book, but I think the pressure was for it to be written. And I have gotten such incredible feedback from my community about this book saying, and the most common thing they say is, I'm so glad somebody wrote this book finally, which is surprising and very relieving to me. I'm sure there are going to be some unhappy people, but it's not an expose either. I mean,
no.
And I also think writing about the people in my town, I want to say that I think the people come off, nobody's really a hero, including me, because I don't really find many answers, but nobody's also a bad guy. It's kind of like, and I know that sounds pretty unexciting, but I think the urgency comes through what these ordinary people are up against,
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, Doc Martin taketh; on the other, he giveth away. His wife said that she was abused by him, and emotionally and mentally abused by him. And so there's just some really rough scenarios in there, and it's I do like that element. I love.
Well, he's a metaphor
melancholy.
for the mill. He's a metaphor for the mill himself. Like the mill giveth and the mill taketh away. I mean, we're all like that. Every one of us are constantly making compromises for our own lives, which is.
But you don't realize it at the time, right? So it's like when you turn the heat up little by little on the frog in the pot, and then eventually things are really bad. But for a long time, you just adjust. Yeah.
There was a talk you had with your mom that said something about that too. Your mom, I think it was your mom, knew what was up, but said, but we're not supposed to make a fuss. She didn't want to make a fuss is sort of how you covered it. Was that your mom or is that another person?
It's probably everybody. I mean, it could have been her. Yeah, it's a compromise. Like I said, everybody on this phone call, you, me, we all make compromises. Like we were talking in the green room about, Amazon, which I'm not supposed to promote as an author, and they've gutted publishing. But at the same time, I understand the need for Amazon sometimes, especially with people who are in rural communities that don't have access to things. Anyway, there's reasons for everything, but you have to decide those compromises on an hourly basis. We're constantly doing it.
I wanted to ask you about your mentoring for PEN America's Prison and Justice Writing Program. That was so interesting. So it's not exactly to do with the book, but it's another way that you've channeled your writing skill and your ability to help communities.
So that program is, I'm actually mentoring a writer, not somebody in the prison system, but he's writing about the prison system, and it's Jerry Mathis. And I've known him for a long time, and I'm a member of PEN. And it was last year when he emailed me and he said, would you be my mentor in this writing process? And I was thrilled. It was great. I've gotten to know his writing, and hopefully he's going to publish this. And illuminate and enlighten us on what's going on. He's working on some fiction. At least I was with him about this.
So there's another book probably people were like, maybe don't write that, because it's inconvenient for us to deal with some of the stuff you're going to surface.
Yeah,
probably. There are some very long comments, but I don't want to like cover your face to display it. But you want to look like Mike Wazowski. Look at this. It's Chris actually gets covered. So they love the guests. So Paula says, Chris, you bring the best guests. I think the outside view of New England is one of beauty, fall colors, hiking trails, and rivers to kayak down. They have no idea the industrial history of the region.
So true. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons for writing this book too, was this is a story that weirdly hasn't been told. I mean, industry in New England was the backbone of industrial America, and as well as the Acadians and French Canadians in this book. And it's a story that hasn't been told in this way. It's been historically addressed, but it was surprised me when I was looking for examples to look at that this hadn't been written. There was no, I mean, Richard Russo did it with Empire Falls, but that was fiction,
Mostly.
Well, yeah, it's based on his, growing up in Gloversville, which is a factory town.
Yeah, I read Empire Falls and I saw he blurbed as well, and I thought, this was what I thought I was getting when I bought Empire Falls. I actually didn't look too closely. I was like, oh, mill stuff, I got it, and I was like, oh, but it was good. It just wasn't what I bought. So, also, you should know that my dad says that the water in Augusta started in Skowhegan and ended up in the Atlantic, and either it got better once the mill stopped working or not. Let's hope it's better, but it takes a long time to recover. That's what I think you learned as well. Yeah,
never.
Not in our lifetime. In some cases.
Well, especially because some of those sorry to interrupt. Especially because some of those toxins, as they go up the food chain, they get stronger. So,
just an interesting
sorry
quote.
To interrupt, Chris.
No, I'm here for you, not the other way around. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to bring in Maaike Fettah, but there's a couple more things I want to cover in comments. Kerri, I'm touching a button. Kara said, they say that history is written by the winners, but it's increasingly important to represent everyone, including the losers. And I thought that was super important.
Yeah.
And my buddy James, I'm not going to touch it anymore. James Hayden is here. Hey, James. He says that Waterbury, Connecticut is known as the brass mill center of either Connecticut or New England, I think. And so, yeah.
I live right by there. They're right down the street.
See, you can't escape mill towns either.
None of us can.
No, it's a thing. And you must go and search occasionally of, red hot dogs. And look what I brought on the show for you. I got a whoopie pie.
Oh, my gosh.
Just for you, though, not because I wanted to eat it. I had no interest in it myself.
That is not true. Come on.
It's just a prop.
What a sacrifice.
Wait, where do you live? I'm coming.
I live very northern Massachusetts, but right in
our
Milltown.
Second guest, Maaike, she's New Mexico, I think. And I had some relatives out west, and I would have to send them like devil dogs and things because
you can't get them out there.
Get them there. Yeah, so funny.
So, Kerri Arsenault, thank you so much for being onto the show. It was so good. So glad to have you.
Don't go away.
Don't go away. I'll get you after the fact.
Okay.
Got a couple more comments to have. We're going to bring in Maaike. Then we have to handle some sponsorship duties and sort of things like that. Let's connect. I grew up in Middlebury. I live in a mill town too. Linen was our industry. Mine was the carriage creating capital of the United States before Detroit was the card capital. Mill towns are everywhere.
Bob Collins says industry likes to keep their stories close. I mean, that's actually, so think about who has the money, who has the influence in those communities where everyone's employed by the mill, and you start to see how insidious it actually is that they keep those stories close and how little they want to admit about their impact, negative or positive sometimes, but negative primarily on the community. It's so funny. I love when people chat in the comments.
Me too. It's the best part of the show. Me too. Let's talk about our sponsors. We're sponsored by StreamYard, and you can go to StreamYard. You can make your own show with this great application. Sold 2 more yesterday, which was kind of fun. I like to see
only better. You always say, make your own show just like this.
Yeah,
only better.
By the way, I got to tell you sometime off screen what I do with our sponsor things, because there's a special one for PubSite that I haven't been able to do yet because you're so good at reading from your memory. It's so impressive. StreamYard to get StreamYard. And we are also sponsored by our friend Fazia Burke's company. FSB Associates has a site called pub-site.com. If Kerri Arsenault hadn't felt like standing up her own little website and doing all that work, she could have just got one thrown together easy on pub-site.com. Maybe that's for her second book. So this is a cool site because authors don't necessarily have to know much about putting together a site, right, Kerri?
They don't have to know anything. In fact, it's really easy to use, but if you decide that even that little bit that you have to do is too much work, then the team over at pub-site.com can put your site up for you. So all you have to do is write the book, show up, give them your bio and stuff. It's super easy. There's a 14-day free trial, so check that out at pub-site.com, powered by one of the absolute best publicity firms for books and authors around. So get over there.
Celebrating 25 years, FSB Associates.
Yes.
So what I always want to do is when you say there's a 14-day free trial, I want to go, Kerri, how much does this cost? It must be amazingly expensive. And then you could say, it's only 14 days free trial. You can have it for free. Biatch.
You can have it free. And after that, it's just $19.99 a month. So even after the free trial. Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
It sounds ridiculous, but I mean,
whoopie pie on my face, but
it's amazing.
The worst thing I've had on my face.
Stop eating whoopie pies on the show. We've talked about this.
Do we get a rubber duck if we sign up? Well, not unlike the person of the day, Don. You can get a rubber duck. All you have to do is buy one. My rubber duck came from the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, where I was made a duck master. So you'll have to do it a different way.
You're a duck master?
I am. I was an honorary duck master.
People did the ducks like listen to you? Because I feel
they
like not.
followed me the hell around. It was so cool. Hang on a minute. I'll go get my cane. I have a duck master cane from doing it.
Oh no, he's getting the cane.
Now you know what? We have to bring in Maaike. We have things to do here. We have things to do.
do.
She's got she brought like a horde. She's like, you know, a little Janie Godley. There's a whole bunch of Maaike people in the audience today, in the community. All right. Maaike Fettah, how the heck are you?
I'm great. Just up way too early. Thanks to you.
Yeah, that's what we do. We make people wake up at all the times.
You're sunshine alchemists. How can you be unhappy about seeing the sunrise?
Here comes the sun.
Well, you know, it happens to be the one day of like all the months that we have a storm. So, you know. My sign actually is blown off and needs to be replaced now for real.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a serious storm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awful.
No fun at all.
Well, great.
So Sunshine Alchemist and Soap Company, you've done other things. You've done all kinds of art projects. You were a financial person for a while. You left the grown-up world of all that stuff to do much more powerful things. You're doing activism and all kinds of things. Talk a little bit about putting this company together.
It was an accident, actually. I moved back home with my kids here to New Mexico, where my family is, so that we could connect. We were up in Washington and I was doing financial planning things. I came back home, not really sure what I wanted to do. I was painting and messing around with some soap makers that I met at a local market. And I just decided to make some soap and put it on my Facebook for fun. And people wanted to buy it. So I made a website and then realized that I probably needed a business license and got one. And then I had a business. And it was really like that.
And so along the way, I mean, it keeps kind of getting bigger and bigger, and there becomes a mission for it and all that. Talk just a tiny bit about that. What made you go from I like making soap to I think I could do something even crazier?
Right. Well, even when I was a financial planner, I was doing a lot of work with women who were getting out of domestic violence situations, because domestic violence it runs the gamut. It's not just, you know, it can be someone with millions of dollars. So helping women get out of those situations with their finances intact, just being aware, having come out of that myself, I realized that we had an opportunity to help women transition from I'm getting out of this crap situation to I am now living a life that I enjoy and that allows me to be there with my kids and to have the kind of life that I want to have. So that was the transition.
Kara from Scotland says that's how the best ideas start. And
apparently.
Kip has a question. Maaike, what isn't activism?
Everything can be activism and everything can be art, and it all depends on how you approach it. Even something as boring as financial planning can actually be art. It just depends on what is your approach and how are you approaching the people that are involved, and what are your goals and what's your intention.
Jack says he loves the link from product to brand to mission. Maaike, again, that's not, there's a lot of grown-up companies that wish they could come back and remake their company to look like that. There's a lot of companies that are, struggling now to sort of align some sense of values that go with their company. But the values came first for you in my mind. So my thought is that, you start there, and oh, by the way, I also like soap. What's the alchemy? How did that come together?
Right. I mean, I think you're right. It's that's just the way that I live my life, is that I'm always geared toward how am I helping? Who am I helping? What are we doing to make things better? And it really is in everything. And companies that are trying to make themselves into something need to take a look at what do they care about and what are they passionate about and what's important in the world to change, and start back from there. And then the products and whatever you're doing with your time, you just shape around that.
Interesting. Related to that. No. I'm with you. I just, my thought then became, then you open it up. Like I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to get more people into it. How do you do that? And what's that make the business look like? And what's the good and the bad of that experience? Because it's different than when you run it pure from your vision versus kind of dragging more people into the soap mix.
I think you just be authentic. People can smell a rat a mile off. If you're fake, they are going to tell. So be yourself, be real, be authentic. And yeah, there is good and bad that comes with it. And you know what? You need to just accept that if you are true to yourself, your tribe will come to you. And the people that don't like what you do, they are not your tribe, and that's okay. It's just like when I have luxury products. My soap is $10 a bar. For some people, that's a big spend. And if people don't want to buy it or they can't afford it, this isn't their product, not a big deal. If they don't want to hear me talk about Black Lives Matter on my website, I'm not the right tribe for them.
Right.
And I'm all good with that.
Exactly. So now you've done parts of this business, or I'm not sure the timeline. You went off to Morocco for a year or so. How long has the business been going? And have you been doing it like from all different parts of the world, or just when you're in New Mexico?
Right. So the business started in 2015, and we did go to Morocco the kids and I were there for 5-6 months, and I was there for an extra 2. And yeah, the business kept going. And this goes back to the mission. We employed 2 women here in the States while we were gone, and supported them and kept our business going, which was a miracle to me. I mean, until like last year, I was a single mom of 2 kids. So, hey, by the way, I went and lived in Morocco for a year. That's kind of not your typical. And so we did that. And also while we were in Morocco, we were exploring opening a shop there in Souera and employing some women there. That didn't quite pan out, but that's still something that can happen in the future. But yeah, from wherever.
Interesting. And then you made a bit of a shift, like everybody did in the lands of the COVIDs, and you started making some masks along the way as well.
Right. So COVID kind of hit everybody like a freight train, right? And we were staying open for actually very briefly. As soon as it seemed to start to be a problem for people's health, we shut right away. But face masks appeared to be the thing that needed to happen. And I actually have women in my circle that are professional seamstresses. And so again, back to our mission is always to support women and employ women and keep the money flowing. So I got in touch with them, and we actually supported 3 families during this time period. Oh yeah, there's my little, and we have actually distributed probably around 2,600 face masks to a domestic violence shelter, a local community school, breweries, restaurants, so many individuals. And we make fun face masks too. They're not just like, oh, here you have a or face mask. No, like fun, cool, quirky, Sunshine Alchemist stuff. Yeah.
Your dad's super proud of you.
Oh,
And Laura had a question. Laura wants to know, are you doing any webinars or online workshops or other types of outreach to teach struggling women how to become more financially independent?
Hey, Laura. So this has actually been really motivating for me, this situation with this live stream. I've been thinking about doing kind of bathtub bonfire little talks, and we can just talk like people. I don't know that it's going to be like a workshop, but I can certainly bring my financial planning expertise into play and my own experiences, and we can just talk it out. For me, one of the best things about being a small business owner is that we don't have to have seminars and workshops. We can just be humans together and talk about the things that are important and just figure it out together, which is community.
Absolutely. So Kara says, I have so many friends making masks now. Talia says, I'm her friend and I'm also proud. Deanna says,
hey,
howdy.
Talia.
Yep.
So, and Hope loves you. That was way up above CA.
Did we get that? Yeah, we got there.
Oh, I couldn't remember. I was, I'm typing things. I'm touching things. There's buttons.
All my girls all over the U.S. Awesome.
That's grand. You, you're fairly intense, I think. What is Maaike Unplugged? Like, do you ever just watch Netflix, or what's you when you're not running around making soaps?
I think that's a very valid observation. I am trying to get better at being unplugged. I actually usually have to go out of town to get unplugged.
Got it.
Where the phone doesn't have service, because as much as I try to be a good person and turn my phone off, I suck at that. So we go out we went to some hot springs on whatever day that was, Friday. We go to the mountains, we go away. When we were in Morocco, I love the ocean. So go to the ocean, go to the water, leave the phone in the van. That's it. We don't think about that. But yeah, I'm pretty on most of the time and my brain doesn't shut off and I stay up late and do my planning and yeah.
Where you should go is one of those small mill towns in Maine.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, whatever you do, don't go.
No, I don't want colorful water that scares me.
No, really says not intense, just truthful. I think you can be both intense and truthful. I don't think intense is a bad thing.
Well, I mean, I don't think I really get a choice on that. I am who I am, and life makes you who you need to be, I think the more experiences that you have, the more compassionate that you become, the more important things become to you. And being passionate and intense is a result of being aware. And we are very connected and information flows. And the more that you know about what's happening in the world, for me, the more I feel like I'm compelled to get involved. I'm compelled to use my words. I'm compelled to live my life doing things that change this. So
it's a powerful message.
Lisa says you have amazing products and a great mission, and she vibes with your tribe. She's happy to have stumbled upon Sunshine Alchemists and Soap Company and will support your business.
I have the best people.
Kip wanted your Twitter handle. Here it is, Kip. And life makes you who you need to be. Laura agrees with that.
Yes, that's what she said also.
Yep. So Jack
All
Vincent
right.
likes that part too.
Cool. Well, we're at the part in our show where we bring back our other guests. So I'm going to drag Kerri Arsenault out from behind. So that was fun.
Do you need your spots back? I want you to be comfortable. Here you go.
Yeah, there we go.
I was feeling a little nervous.
Yeah. A little unsettled. Yeah.
God, that was so wonderful listening to you. I'm like, I love that you're intense. Intense is good. Why shouldn't we be? I love that. And I love what you said, if you don't mind me. I just wrote this down while you're talking. You're like, everything can be art and activism, which I thought was a really beautiful thing to say. And I feel aligned with that. And I didn't know it, but until you said it. But like I garden, I do photography, even when I clean my house or when I set up my little
the bookshelf.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of everything. I love that.
Joel's joining us from LinkedIn, first time watcher. Hey, Joel, welcome.
Hey, Joel, good to see you.
Go catch yesterday's as well.
Yeah, boy, yesterday's LinkedIn is, I'm still waiting to hear from Reed Hoffman.
Don says you have the best people because you attract them with your passion and your mission. And I think that's absolutely valid. So Maaike, you were saying you have to be your authentic self to attract your tribe. That's so true. And I've seen people be a little apologetic about posting things for like Black Lives Matter. Like, well, I don't usually post about, politics and things. I'm like, that's not politics. That's decency and,
Those are
human
people's lives.
rights. Exactly.
What I was saying is, I'm starting to judge the people who aren't saying anything.
Word.
When I saw no words come out, I was like, you're on my little Santa Claus bad list here. So
everyone's welcoming Joel to the tribe.
So Joel's just found a whole new tribe.
One of us.
So one of the things that we do at the show, one of the goals of the Backpack Show is we're here for business insights and business success and that sort of a thing. One of the other things we're always looking for is we want to promote voices that don't get as much attention as they should, women, people of color, all different kinds of walks of life that you don't normally get to see. And so we have this represented. It is an interesting thing. So Kerri's book reminds me of something like the one amazing thing I ever thought Jeffrey Hazlitt ever said, which was that women are the chief memory officer of the home. The chief memory officer. And Kerri goes to woman after woman after woman in her book because that's where the memory is stored. And I was thinking about the fact that Maaike works with women to bring their stories together and all that. It's a very different energy, isn't it? To work in and amongst and use women's energy to build something. And it's not that men are poop burgers, because I still have a place in the world, but it is different what you put together when you work with women.
My mom's Irish. She'll remember something somebody did 25 years ago and still be mad about it.
God, that's I never thought about that. That is a great observation. Yeah. And not only the memories of the people I went to and talked to, but I was talking to somebody yesterday, Joan Vermette. I hope she's here somewhere, but we were talking about our grandmothers. Like I knew my great grandmother who was also comprised of her great grandmother. So my memory, history, my knowledge goes back almost 200 years. If because I knew her and she knew her great grandmother. And so I include that all in the part of the memory and the storytelling.
That adds richness to it. I think you can really sense that. John says, be the best you can be because everyone else is taken. Fazia agrees. It's not politics, it's decency. And Coach Woodard just bought your book, Kerri. Looking forward to reading it. Now just get some soap.
No, I just need some Fight Club soap and I'll be ready to go.
Yes.
I saw that there. My mom did the family tree for my dad's side of the family because no one else wanted to pick that up, which I find kind of funny. My mom's the water in that family, and she went and asked all the blood people to, explain their lines.
Also, Audible book. If you listen to books instead of.
Oh, did you read it, by the way?
I did.
Oh, yeah. Fun. Good. It's the only way to do it. Maaike, I feel like when you're done with a little more soap, maybe you could throw a book out. You seem like an author type.
Yeah, so for sure there's a book in my life. I have had a wild ride, some of it of my own choosing and other things, just life being what it is. I actually also want to write a series of children's books that, my daughter is biracial. And there are not very many books for her, about her, that are not like, let's make this very serious and historical and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's boring as heck if you're 9 or 10 years old. Like that goes about one time around. And I think there needs to be just more stories. Hi, I'm a kid and I'm having a life and these are my stories and these are my adventures. And so we've got that kind of coming down the pipe, and it'll have some cool graphics and original artwork. Not from me. I have another animator that's going to work on that stuff.
Oh, you're not sticking your art in there as well?
No, it doesn't need to be about my artwork. I've got some other people that are actually people of color who I want to bring forward. And that's appropriate. So
that is. And it's painting with the community.
Memory officer of the home, and perfectly placed book plugs. So this is the thing you have to understand. We bring people on the show because we like them and what they're doing. And if they wrote a book, if we have them on, it's because we like the book. So
yeah,
all about that. So it's not really plugging, is what I'm saying. It's like because we like fanning. It, we want to share it with you. Right.
It's fanning. That's really the deal.
Like we do for FSB Associates. And Fazia Burke's team, we talk about them because we love the work that they're doing.
We talked about them before they sponsored us.
It's true. Don says compassion, empathy, and strength, all elements of being a strong warrior and servant leader. And Deanna's sharing a link to a resource for you, Maaike. So there's a link for you in the comments.
Well, and related, just one more thought on that about books that don't have to be so like harsh and everything like that. I read this thing on Reddit. It was an unpopular opinion, and the guy said, I'm black and I'm in the middle of this just like everybody else. And he goes, and every now and again, I would just like to watch a cool story where someone happens to be black, but that is not about how shit my life is. He goes, I just kind of want a good couple of stories where we're just like happen to be there,
Also, why does your life have to be shit? Like, what planet are we on? There are so many people having beautiful lives that are not white. Like, why can't we just have stories about everybody? Like having a great life, having an amazing life, traveling, having fun, having pets, doing adventures, being creative.
How it really is, honestly, because sometimes your life is shit and sometimes your life is great. And it's like that for everyone. So
that's what I was trying to write about too, like with the ordinary people.
Yes.
The people there are just living their life. Like I wasn't trying to make them heroes or bad guys. Like I said, they're just
show them as they are.
Every statue in that book has feet of clay. You did a good job of that, by the way. Sometimes authors evade that net, wow, look how ruined everyone is.
Except me. Yeah, no.
Right. I'm great. Yes.
I'm culpable.
So, and then Bob Collins brings in a comic book reference, of course. He says, like Miles Morales, he was just a kid from a loving family. Had nothing to do with anything. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, by the way, leaving or left Netflix very shortly. But if you didn't buy it, I already don't want to talk
I bought it.
Good answer. All right, listen, we got to do some things. We got to have a person of the day because that is the specific thing that pub-site.com has given to us. Fausia, anytime you want to buy pubsite.com, I'm down with that purchase. So I think of a person.
I don't say hyphen, I say dash because it's one syllable. But I mean,
doesn't matter. You know what it is? Marketing out loud bad advice .com.
Pub-site.com. It is a good service and people will find it.
Yes. You know what? Let's make Joel, who just showed up for the first time, Joel Gaslin, person of the day. Really, what that allows is you get an apple just like that one. If you can go out and find one or buy one, it's perfectly available at most, stores, or you can find an orchard. I live one street away from an orchard. So that's our person of the day.
What
Joel
Chris
Gaslin
is trying to say is thank you, Joel, for joining our community.
You're the best, Joel.
You're
Thanks
the
for being
person of
here.
the day.
If I were to sing Karate Kid lyrics to you, I would say you're the best around.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just finished Cobra Kai. Don't spoil it for Chris.
Don't get me started on Cobra Kai. Okay, what?
See, she does watch shows.
I do watch shows.
That's an intense show. So if she was going to, that I would have guessed it would be that one.
And it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I am a music person. Our whole family are musicians. So I was like, whoever did the music on this is a genius. Like they did it so well.
It's so good.
Yeah.
The songs
and it was a lot more relevant than I thought it was going to be. I was like, this is going to be cringeworthy. I'm not sure. And then it wasn't. It was pleasant.
It has a surprising amount of heart for what I thought of as a gimmick going into it.
Oh,
totally.
Blood. Wait.
Hi, he says, Clayton. Good to see you.
Hey, Clayton.
He was my English teacher in high school.
No way. He must be so proud.
Way.
That's amazing.
Good job,
That's
Clayton.
Cool.
And Don says you should get a whoopie pie, Joel.
Yeah, I can vouch for the whoopie pie, of which 1/3 of it. Oh boy, I just made it.
You can have a third of a slice.
Something just happened, but 1/3 of it's gone. I ate it while I talk to you guys because that's what I do. Because someone complained once that I eat on my show. I said, "Yep," and I drink. Don't you wish you had a show? If you had a show, you could use it on StreamYard.
When you start popping pills, I'm going to put you backstage.
Oh my
limits.
I have some pills. I don't take any good meds anymore. But listen, one of the things is my Grammy was she worked in a paper mill. My grandmother worked at Statler Tissue in Augusta, Maine. She worked in toilet paper. She worked in paper towels, and every now and again tissue. For some other reason, I think they put her in tissues because not in tissues because she was like messy, and I think she was bad with them. So they let her do the coarse